My name is Ari Lightman. I'm an adjunct faculty in the Masters of Information Systems Management program at the Heinz College at Carnegie Mellon University. I got it right after 7 minutes. This class is actually a panel that we constructed around social media data. So the name of the panel is Issues Around Social Media Data and Implications for Corporations, Individuals, and Organizations. But let me tell you a little bit about the class before we launch into the panel, if I could. So this is the inaugural class. It's a case study class. If all the students that I have in the class, could you just raise your hands? Just identify yourselves. Great. So these students are all working with corporate sponsors on a case study around social media data. And I just want to acknowledge the case study sponsors that we have in this inaugural class. We have Heinz Corporation, Eaton Park, the Pittsburgh Penguins, PPG, Verizon, Thomson Reuters, and HP. Thanks very much. I appreciate the reference to remember my case. So the idea around the course and why it really got started was we had the thought process that social media data analysis can be taught. It can be taught very well in an experiential setting. So we review a lot of case studies. We look at a lot of prior art. But a lot of this is going on right now while we're in the class. So the best way, and really the focus for all the students, is working with the case study sponsors on a presentation around an initiative that they have looking at social media data. Right? So we're very happy that our esteemed panel of experts can join us tonight. Just a couple of words about how we want the panel to run through. We're very informal here. We sort of follow a social media philosophy, very collegial, very open. So please, if you have questions, we're not going to reserve 10 minutes after the end of the panel, after I go through all of this information, for you guys to ask your questions. You can ask them anytime you like during the course of the panel. So I think we'd like to kick things off with a round of introductions. So if we could begin with, name, organization, background, whatever you want to share with the audience, that'd be great. Why don't we start over with Mike?
Okay. So I'm Michael Smith. I'm on the faculty here. Background is I got my PhD from MIT Sloan School at the interface between technology and marketing. I've been here for 9 years and doing 2 projects right now with students looking at how marketers can best use the data in social networks to find thought leaders and then to target the right people with the right messages.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Rob Howard. I'm the founder of a company called Telligent. We build enterprise collaboration and community software. I started the company roughly 5 years ago after spending about 6 years at Microsoft. And we put together one of the first unified collaboration platforms, bring together then what were a lot of the tools like blogs, wikis, profiles, those types of things. And then roughly 3 years ago, introduced one of the very first data analysis tools for social media called at the time Harvest, now called Intelligent Analytics. And hopefully get to share some details about that in this panel too.
Great, thanks. Sean?
My name is Sean Amirati. I'm the COO at Read Write Web, which is a pretty popular tech blog that analyzes trends in the sort of social media and web technology space. My role as the COO is to take a lot of the really smart people at Read Write Web and try to help them not have to focus on all of the more mundane business parts of the business. So doing things like making sure we're actually selling advertisers so we can send them checks every month and helping them figure out how to grow their business, that kind of thing.
Gene? Thanks, Sean.
I'm not Doug Wood.
He's the new Doug Wood.
Yeah, I'm the new Doug Wood. Doug's, yes, yeah, no, new. Doug is my partner from New York, and I thought a la Star Trek or Star Wars, he could be beamed up Star Trek, but he's somewhere between New York City and here in cyberspace. I'm a little closer in Pittsburgh, and like Doug, I'm a lawyer with a firm called Reed Smith, and our law firm has offices throughout the world in places like Pittsburgh, Philly, East Coast, West Coast, Chicago, United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong, and as an Irish citizen, and therefore an EU citizen, I'm privileged to be able to guide people on privacy rights, social media things, both here and across the pond. And I've been doing privacy rights and things like that for about 40 years, from the employment context and representing employers.
Thanks,
I gotta
Jim.
follow that.
You can do it, Tim.
I'm Tim Stanton. I'm with LinkedIn, and I've been on board for about 2.5 years. My role is actually working with enterprise-level organizations from a recruitment standpoint, so it's a little different take being here, but I deal with organizations as they wrestle with what do we do with the data? Are we impeding on rights and interests and things of that nature? But have been working in the corporate recruitment space for about 15 years. And so have a little different, I think, necessarily from a pure data perspective, but work with organizations as they wrestle with how do we find, but what do we do with data? And excited to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Just a couple of notes really quickly before we launch into the material. We have CMU-TV. They're going to be videotaping, which will be available online at some point in time. Harris is going to be blogging live with Exponential Web.
Yep.
This panel. If we have some tweeters in the audience, and I know we do, that's great. Please use our hashtag. It's 95800, and that'll help us tremendously associated with measuring content uptake and those sorts of things. All right. So the way that I wanted to kick things off, and we all had a discussion online, is really talk a little bit about a State of the Union address, if you will. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, we've had a very interesting year. We've gone from 2009, we're in 2010 now. We see Facebook with well over 350 million users, massive utilization, a lot of applications being used on the platform. Big, large tech companies are now entering the social space. I'm sure most of you have gotten waved and buzzed, and you're probably getting poked or something along those lines fairly soon. And we've seen tail off in usage in other platforms like Twitter, for that matter. So I wanted to open it up to the panel and talk about where are we now, February 2010. Are we still in the middle of a hype cycle? Are we going to see a lot of shakeout, a lot of fragmentation in the space? What's 2010 going to bring from a social media perspective? Very large question, but take it and run with it. Let's reverse order. Let's start with Tim.
In the world that I live in, there isn't one company that I've talked to that isn't interested. No one has figured out what to do with it and how to do it well. I think some organizations are more ahead of the curve than others. From an industry perspective, we see continued growth. There are new sites launched, more companies are looking at it. You look at News Corp, for example, they're continually meaning what are they doing in social media? How are they doing that? How do they present the materials? And so, as I see it, the continued, from a corporation perspective, how to use it is really what people are out there. I think the sites will continue to grow. I think having been in the recruiting world and starting out with this little company called the Monster Board, when I worked there were 60 employees. No one knew what the web was. And so when I talked to people about the web, what's the internet? Never mind what's a job board. And so organizations, I think, will always continue to wrestle. And so that was, a 10 to 12 year period as it looked to really become ingrained in what the people do today. Right. So as I talk to organizations, they say, well, we recruit on the web. We don't recruit in papers. Right. And so I think where we're at in that cycle, we're probably in the early part. We're still, if you look at the hockey stick, we're still down here.